I thought Reguilon's quotes were very timely, were they not? Given our conversation last night about Marcelo.
They were. I was, you know what? I was thinking the exact same thing when I was reading them, because we talked about how Reguilon could have just stayed at the school of Real Madrid and could have just remained at here and kind of developed in that way. And we talked about how, it probably wouldn't have been that hard of a sell compared to the Ashraf situation. And I think his quotes kind of hinted that as well.
So we can just read the relevant quotes really quickly. So he says, I'm not in Madrid because it was something that did not depend on me. My conscience is clear. You cannot get frustrated by decisions that you do not make. I didn't get to talk to Zidane. I know that Madrid has given me everything. I have a very special affection for the club. I thought that was a little bit telling in that he didn't have a conversation with the club. It wasn't up to him. He may not even had a chance to say, hey, I would accept backup minutes or at least fight for my place. And maybe it was unfair. I mean, it's not like we did that, but it may just be unfair in general to say, well, he didn't accept that role.
Yeah.
That was probably the most relevant quote. The other relevant quote, he was asked about Marcelo. Obviously, he's going to give the very political answer and say that nothing's wrong. And he did. He was asked about Solari. He said he was grateful for Solari. He forever will be. It was just so weird, surreal this morning that woke up to Solari trending in Spain. And you're trying to figure out why. You click on it like, oh, and then everyone's talking like, oh, Solari was right the whole time about Isco or Marcelo.
So that was your tweet?
Yeah,
that was your tweet.
We never know who tweets what on Managing Madrid. It's all anonymous. But yeah, so that, and then so it was all just weird because all these topics, and then Reguilon is talking about this is with Onda Cero, I believe it was, right? The interview.
Yeah.
So he was talking about all these things. But I just thought that was the most interesting part, was where he said, I did not depend on me. Did that surprise you?
It did. Even like it almost frustrates me too, the fact that he didn't talk to Zidane, or there wasn't like, I mean, we know obviously Brahim was a part of the squad, but we know Zidane talked pretty thoroughly with Brahim and told him how much he thinks of him and told him, look, it's probably your best bet to go out on loan. So that's where I'm a little bit frustrated. And it's clear, I mean, given the fact that the club prioritized the buyback option, it's clear that they rate him. So I can't help but feel that this just comes down to Zidane. And maybe it's not, I mean, Reguilon looked to debunk that myth that it's between him and Lucas Zidane. But I do think maybe it's not necessarily like a personal grudge. Maybe it's just a thing that Zidane is so faithful to Marcelo, and just he's formed this bond with him. And as a person, like, think about that. And when we just zoom out and just think about it at the human level, how, like, when you form a bond with someone like that, and you've gone through they've gone through war together, they've gone through and they've succeeded together, and it's probably so incredibly difficult to cut that tie. And Marcelo comes into his office and tells him, hey, look, coach, like, I really feel I can get back to my best. I've done this, and this. Look, we can make this happen. How can you, as a human being, it's got to be incredibly difficult to cut that tie and call that loss. And so maybe it's more so, it's not a personal grudge against Reguilon or anything like that. It's just his personal relationship with Marcelo.
That's why I always felt that, like, GMs or presidents or club directors are more ruthless in those transactions because they don't have the same bond that managers do. I see it in the NBA a lot, where GMs will be kind of cold-blooded when dealing with, like, players who are beloved by fans and players. Just if they feel like something is best for the team, they can detach themselves from that a little bit more than coaches can do. But we have a question. Actually, I think this is a good time to take this question, if you don't mind. Our patron Sergio Reguilon says, hey guys, I've been sitting on a question for a while now and didn't know when would be a good time to ask. It has been brought up in the past that Castilla's Miguel Gutierrez could have the potential to play for the first team one day. Looking at the pros and cons of playing Marcelo, at what point does calling up Miguel Gutierrez to play this season and compete with Marcelo for being the second option at left back become a viable option? What do you think?